everyone. It's great to be back here. I love the Schamrock Poetry Festival because it's great to be surrounded with a lot of talented women, and there's like a spirit and an energy that comes. I'm so pleased I'm here. So 2 years ago I was here. I attended all 3 days. I didn't speak a word of German, so I didn't understand anything. And I thought that maybe this year it would be different. So I started taking German lessons. And usually I'm great with languages, but German has been kicking my ass. So I think when I first came for the Villa Waldberta, the second day, I went to the supermarket and I ended up breaking a glass. And I wanted to pay for it, but all the German I learned, probably 500 words, was gone. And I didn't know what to say. So it inspired something that I'm gonna read to you before I read what I prepared to read today. There's 5 poems I've prepared for today's performance. 2 of them have somehow become a signature of my performances, because the first one is almost like an introduction of who I am, and the last one I find to be a great conclusion to step out of the stage. So bear with me. And I would like to announce that there might be a few trigger elements. Some of the poetry talks about abuse towards women. Some of the poetry talks about what women go through, and it could be a bit graphic, although it's hidden in images. So this is, I guess, a trigger warning for anyone that might want to feel like they need to leave the room to do so before I start. And there are a few bad words here and there. I like to color my poetry. So here goes nothing. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Mich? Nein. Ich lerne Deutsch vor Jahr ein. Aber meine Deutsch ist nicht so gut. Ich habe nicht Vokabular wie Flut. Ich kann nicht gehen im Supermarkt. Will einmal ein Glas kaputt gemacht. Konnte ich nicht sagen, I want to pay. Ich möchte bezahlen ein zerbrochenes Glas. Warum mein Deutscher verschwindet? Warum mein Zunge versteckt? Möchte es erzählen, I must, noch ich habe viel Lust. Aber wenn jemand vor mir, für mich, alles Deutsche ist weg, weit weg als ich. Bitte verzeihen Sie, Deutsche ist nicht mein erstes Zunge. Wusste hatte es gelernt, als ich war Junge. Aber Zeit ist ein Geschenk für uns. Also schreibe ich mein erstes Gedicht in Deutsch. Now for my real poetry. This is the introduction poem I was talking about. Earlier, with my namesake, we kind of talked a little bit about what a name means and how sometimes identity, belonging, all of these questions are all tied up in a name somehow. So here's my little intro. You do not know where I come from, so it gives you no right to scrutinize my name. I do not have an Ethiopian one, and no, I didn't change it to sound European or for fame. You see me, and the first thing you notice is that I'm an Ethiopian young woman, and that I am. I will not deny my major origin. It would be like saying that I'm a man, which I'm not, but would you know what other mixture of blood flows within my veins? Do you know what boils within my body? Could you even tell me what I'm made of if my heart drains? Can you understand how long it had taken me to understand the identity that most of my age seemed to have been born with? And even questioning where I come from was taken as an insult, as if an attempt to deny it. But know this, you wouldn't know the feeling of holding your father's hands and to be taken for a bitch, or the boggled eyes when he says you're his firstborn staring as if you were a witch. And suddenly the resemblance would dawn on them as if some sort of an epiphany. And all of a sudden they would approve of my name as mine. Heck, I could even earn a Tiffany. Oh no, trust me, you have no clue where I come from, yet you think I should still change what's mine. It had been given to me, so what's it to you if it had been a thread, a dot, or a line? Put my name to the side, and I'll let you decide where you put me in this world of ours. Born of half this and half that, from a quarter this and a quarter that, after a labor that took hours. A mother that moved halfway across the country to start a family of her own. Integrated, but not fully, into a family halfway away from half her own. Born into a confused circle of green eyes, wide noses on a white body. Kinky black hair on a white face with sparkling brown eyes like you haven't seen on anybody. A range of European and Ethiopian names, and they're all siblings. An aggregation of half-privileged and half-discouraged ugly ducklings. And that is only my father's side, to which my temper and my name choose to abide. Half of the full story that would take a lifetime if you were to join me on this ride. The other half the story started with a blood that's a quarter Middle Eastern. Half the family with Ethiopian names, dark, soft hair, which made it hard for most to discern. Muslim and Christian ancestries that still make it difficult for me to choose a group. So I choose not to choose because choice itself would bring me back into a loop. So I think halfway, more than twice, before you decide what my name should be. Actually, think twice before you even think that you know me. Because I'm still discovering the path of this lost girl inside. I'm trying to help her forget for some of the rejection for which she had cried. This one I wrote because I was kind of tired of all the wars that were happening all over the world, specifically in my country. There was nothing common about this thing that tied us all. It was royal, as thick as blood, open your eyes, stretch your ears, it's our call. Nothing too simple, but not so complicated for us to comprehend. The tie was strong, the tide never went wrong, just over the river bend. Like Pocahontas, a hopeless hopeful, constantly looking over to see unity. We still go searching, we're still yet to search for infinite genuinity. But we are blind by color, race, blood, and most of all by social class. As if we chose where it was that we wanted to be born, as if we get to select where we land, we seem collected when we're torn. Put apart by social construct, separated and divided within and out, we are labeled, categorized, and put in boxes within a clout. There is nothing common about this thing tying us together, an invisible line that pulls to push for something better. Same tribes on both sides of borders stealing each other's cattle, the same people on either side of man-made lines going into battle, the same language, just in different dialect to detect an origin, as if we couldn't trace back our lines all the way to manufactured sin. We are eager to figure out the smallest differences in our stars, prepared on the offense side of a conversation at night in bars, one eye on the trigger of distrust and the other on the ours, constantly uncertain of the intention of others and that of ours. We struggle with the two tied wolves inside our souls' doorways and forget the same wolves are the ones our self-doubt portrays. There was everything in common with the knots that tied. We all live lives that leave to live a life that died. Reborn, rebirth on an earth that we once knew and left behind. Again and again, given chances to retry our luck, so peace we find. But we fall unnervingly, selfishly short, chasing mortal dreams. We aren't common, anything but ordinary. We are stardust under shining beams. With each of our stories worth telling, worth sharing, worthwhile, each capable of love, warmth, peace, so live life with a smile. There's nothing common about life, but we have everything in common. Tied with a thread that loops us around, ties us about a web with a weapon made out of dance, music, poetry, and colorful art, common threads that bind us to the same life of which we are each a small part. I wanted to make sure I was stronger before I saw you again. Needed to be certain that I was rid of my anger and the pain. Wanted to see you and be indifferent to your overall existence, and I told myself just that, with such calm and persistence. If you believe you can make anything happen, they often said. So I set out to bring your empty soul back from the dead. I crossed the darkest forest of your countless vulnerabilities, swam across the swamps of your emotions and insecurities, prepared for battle against your anguish, your fears, reconstructed you with love and wiped away your tears. Suddenly you were whole again and I was left with blisters. Blisters on my feet from the forest trees and splinters, blisters on my hands from crocodile teeth and snake bites, blisters in my heart from your cruelty and childlike fights. I wanted to be whole again after you tore me into pieces, needed to be sure I wouldn't cave into your loveless kisses, wanted to face you and see through your soulless body, and I told myself this doesn't happen to just about anybody. So I set out on a quest to find the part of me you killed. I first emptied my soul of all the lovelessness you filled, determined I would find this piece I thought that I had missed until I found it hidden in my heart when I started to get pissed. Pissed at you for lying through your teeth and for believing it. Pissed at me for believing the lies you told were bullshit. Pissed at God for showing me what it was but couldn't have. I realized I'd been lucky since some for love still starve. 'Cause I see you wearing rags of colorless display, smelling of treachery and guilt. This love was not for play. I wanted to be careless when I was to see you next. Needed to be able to ignore you or your attention-seeking texts. Wanted to know that I was capable of being as cruel, it's true. And I told myself that even if I tried, I could never be to you. So evil I set out to be just as much as I could get, determined that forgiveness is the sin that I never shall forget. I buried memories of you behind my kidneys and my bladder, hid your photos in the attic of my brain and broke the fucking ladder. Burned your scent just like incense and made a prayer to the gods, kneeled to ask them to cut me again, take you out, and make us two peas in two pods. I had a life before you axed me and broke me in two and then into pieces. The blows were so hard I couldn't resist enough. I exposed myself to plagues and diseases. I used to stand majestically strong, branched out and reaching for the skies. I was home to many, held them in my hugs, but you took me away before I said my goodbyes. I never feared darkness, rain, or the scorching rays of the sun. I was fearless. Now I just want to be moved away, discarded as fast as possible from this existence. You have cut through me multiple times and patched me back in the way that suited you best. You used me, sat, stood, leaned on me, and on me you laid your heaviest burdens to rest. But whenever it suited you, I was forgotten, left aside, and hidden from the world you took me away from. I took shape into this utility that you built me to be, away from my heart, away from my home. The marks you left remain as a reminder of your heartless act. Screws for each screw over the trust I had given you when you first caressed me, fact. You approached me with mesmerized looks and twinkle in your eyes I mistook for respect and admiration. Little had I known you were calculating where each blow would land for you to exert less effort realization. You were making sure I wouldn't fall back on you as you sliced through me and broke me down to be small. What's worse is what you made me believe it was best for us both, that life was about sacrifices and I was the one that had to fall. What's even worse is not that I let you, but that I believed my first death was nothing compared to the life you would give me. It felt like resurrection at first, closer to being saved. No death was death enough if after I was to be free. Through me, you projected the life you had dreamed of building, but my presence would only be necessary temporarily. Once you saw the flaws in my creation, the marks left mostly by life and not only by you, you decided on my expiry unhesitantly. I am curious. You were lost until you found me. Now you precipitate towards another to carve out your most desired shape. I am confused. You didn't take the time to embellish my marks, paint over my pains after you used me. Your cruelty is no different than rape. Had I had any life left in me after you left me to rot and eaten by moths instead of reshaping me, I'd be gasping for air. I forget that life was about sacrifices. Where was yours? When you could have let me be as I had begged you to at first. You wouldn't, and now I'm just a chair. This is my signature one I was talking about. This means it's the conclusion. You don't have to listen to me ranting. This is my sermon. I am not the wind, I am much faster. Add 1 + 1 as easy as citing Leviticus 19, verse 18, call me the pastor. I won't ask for the bills laid out in your wallet, but for 4 minutes of your time. Matter of fact, here, let me pay you. Take my 2 cents, here's my dime. Words have power. I use words, ergo I am powerful. My power lies not on what and how I say it, but in me being mindful. Love thy neighbor, love thy friend, just be thoughtful. Long to see your soul in the other's eyes by merging from within, how wonderful. Be like David. Sing the songs that your heart wrote at birth, but don't fornicate. Well, okay, fornicate, but not with someone else's lover. Do it with a celibate. Matthew 5, verse 28, let not your eye be distracted, because if it were to, pluck it out. How about just playing fair and being self-controlled, a slightly different route? Please listen, because I'm tired to the world turning a blind eye to some issues. When do we get to talk about the wasted resources and their misuse? When will the truth be the actual truth and not just some interpretation of some guy? I don't know about you, but I'm tired of citing according to's and Mr. Who says this and why? Just so you get to push your agendas a little bit further than they'd naturally go. Just so you get to tell me and my sisters that we would not exist without the rib of some motherfucker created years ago. If you are offended, I won't apologize. You can leave the parish because I am the pastor. Licensed to spread the word all the while dissing the other parishes because I'm much faster. A bit more rapid at knowing how to assemble a flock, just a bit quicker. Cunning at tending to the dissatisfied needs of the generations at spotting the moneymaker. Don't worry, I'm not talking about me, but that's exactly who and what I'd be, wouldn't I? So said like this, you want to fight and disintegrate it, but not if I was in a costume or in a suit and a tie. Why do we not get to doubt the beliefs instilled and engraved since 10 centuries back, but asking more than the sole explanation of the word said so becomes an attack? An attack on who exactly? Could you elaborately tell me the reason behind that? Because I'm starting to believe I have a better pastor and it's a cat in a hat. We don't need preachers of the word, but more preachers of action. We don't need leaders in office, but more leading attraction. We don't need men or women in power. We need empowered beings. It's simple. Be a preacher of good, a leader in truth. Power to the people.